Hey everyone, this is David Pike, the Motorcity Mechanic, back with another video. This video is going to be on replacing the alternator in a 3.7 liter V6 that's commonly found in the Dodge and Jeep line of vehicles. It's an older engine that they've gone away with more recently, but nonetheless they're still on the road and they still need alternators. So you get comfortable and let me grab my tools. Alright, before we do any kind of work under the hood that has anything to do with battery voltage, such as the alternator, of course, has a battery voltage lead coming from the alternator straight to the battery, we need to unhook the battery. We don't want to damage anything as far as electronic control modules, anything that's high dollar that will not like it when you short the cables out. So we need to go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal on the battery, and once we've got that disconnected, then we can actually proceed to removing the alternator. But the most important primary step is disconnect the battery. That way you don't hurt yourself, you don't cause any damage. So go ahead and get that negative cable off, and then we'll get to the alternator. Alright, at this point we need to take this belt off. The belt is held in place by a serpentine belt tensioner right here. It's spring loaded. It has a 15mm head on it that we're going to be putting a socket and a long ratchet on. Now, before you take the belt off, like I always say, kind of make you a diagram of the routing of the belt so you know exactly which way it goes back on. It's a good procedure for this vehicle as well as any other vehicle. But like always, I've got your back. I'm going to give you a little belt diagram just in case you decided not to make the diagram. So nonetheless, I'm going to get my ratchet, put it on this 15mm head, and I'm going to turn it clockwise. As I turn it clockwise, we will release the tension on the belt. Take the belt off, take a ratchet and socket off, and we can go ahead and get the belt off the alternator. And now we'll work on getting the alternator off. Alright, give you a basic rundown on what the bolts are and where they are. You got a 15mm long bolt that goes right through here between the AC compressor and the alternator. We've also got a 15mm right here, and we got a 13mm right here. Those are the three bolts that hold the alternator to the engine. Then of course we've got up under this plastic cover battery cable lead, which is held in place with a 13mm nut. Went ahead and backed out the bolts. Like I said, we got that long 15 here, short 15. Well, I say short, it's about the medium length. And then we've got the 13 as well. So all the bolts holding it down have been taken off. I went ahead and backed out on the nut as well for the battery cable. Now to get the alternator out of its place where it's mounted, we're going to use a pry bar. Reason why is that on this side right here where that long bolt went through, it kind of, once it tightens down, it kind of squeezes to hold on to the adapter that it's mounted to. Alright, before we start prying up on this alternator to try to get it loose from its mount, I recommend go ahead and disconnect the electrical connector on the back, because you're going to have a problem with it interfering with this air cleaner. You can reposition it slightly to get to it, but you need to squeeze in on the lock and pull it out. Right here's your lock, squeeze on the lock, pull it back out. So now it's out of the way, it should clear fine without hitting that air cleaner. Now the best way to get the alternator out of its position is using a pry bar, and the main reason why is that long bolt that goes through here, the nut on the back side, as you tighten it down, it actually squeezes and makes a tight fit. So of course it stays in that position once you take the bolt out. So we need to start working it. I've already kind of got in there a little bit already. Just grab your pry bar, get between the alternator and the mount, and start working and prying it till you finally get it loose. And here's where you can see where it actually, the bolt goes through, and this is the nut I was talking about, that once the bolt goes through, it squeezes in on it, it comes in, so it makes a nice tight fit. So then it stays tight, so you need to use something to get it off. Now we've got the alternator out of the way. Here's your connector for the PCM wires that control the generator field, and you can get your battery positive cable. Here's where that 113 went. And of course you know where that 15 and this 15 went. Alright, so here's that diagram I promised you. I told you I wouldn't leave you hanging. In case you didn't draw it down on a piece of paper, here you go. Just follow the routing, make sure you're going around the correct pulleys, and then everything should turn out fine and everything should fit. Placement on a 3.7 liter. Pretty cut and dry. Main step you need to pay attention to is making sure you disconnect that battery. At this point I ask for any thumbs up on YouTube. You can also like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. So if you want, scroll to the bottom of the video. In the description portion you will actually find links to both of those. Any kind of questions, comments, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I appreciate you watching videos, and always stay tuned for more.